if I hear a Café Del Mar song, it doesn't remind me to Cambodia, or it doesn't remind me to Vietnam, it doesn't remind me to anywhere. But if you hear a song of that crap music we play Mooserwirt, if you hear the Final Countdown, or our legendary, the Ice Bear song,
sure, yeah,
well, Mooserwirt rings a bell.
Of course, yeah.
And that's I think that's unique to. It's not unique to Mooserwirt, it's unique to the Aprés ski scene in Austria.
From Eat, Drink, Fun, this is the Eat, Drink, Fun podcast. I'm Chris Miller. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. So this episode is going to feature a long-format interview with Eugen Scalet. He's the owner and operator of the Mooserwirt in St. Anton, Austria. He's also played an instrumental role in making Austrian apres ski world famous, for good reasons. Now at the outset, the uninitiated may ask, what the heck is apres ski? Well, it's the daily party that starts at about 3:30 in the afternoon before the lifts close and continues into darkness, sometimes well into the night. And it happens both on and off the mountain. I gotta be honest, great apres ski is one of the main reasons I go back to Austria to ski every single year. No other country even comes close to doing it better. Unfortunately, this is 2020. And this ski season, there's going to be no apres ski. Simply because until everybody does have a vaccine, I just don't see you putting hundreds of people crammed together in a chalet, filling them full of beer and shots, and letting them sing and dance for hours together. That's just not going to happen. So, I also hope there's no permanent reputational damage to apres ski. If you remember back to March 2020, there was this little Austrian ski village called Ischgl. They also have legendary apres ski parties, some of which are a little questionable. I don't know why people were playing beer pong with a common ping pong ball and spitting it out into other people's cups. Seems pretty dangerous even without a pandemic. But what really happened there is that the town leaders apparently, or allegedly, delayed closing the lifts and shutting down the town, which caused the pandemic to spread even wider. In fact, one German politician recently estimated that half of all European cases emanated from Ischgl. Now, that's unsubstantiated. I don't know any facts that actually support that, but again, it's 2020. Who needs facts? In the long run, I hope that reason prevails and that apres ski parties come back. Because, after all, this is a 34 billion euro per year industry in Europe alone, and that's half of all global ski revenue. Now, if the ski seasons are canceled, obviously, huge disaster for tourism and hospitality. But, again, it's possible to go skiing and minimize human contact, so I hope reason prevails and they figure out some measures that allow us to hit the mountains. Now, I recorded this interview in 2019. At that time, life was normal. There was no need for masks or social distancing. I wanted to speak to the person responsible for creating one of the most legendary apres ski parties on Earth. Eugen Scalet and his wife, Anna Maria, own and operate, as I said, the Mooserwirt. Now, if you're not a German speaker, you're thinking, that's kind of a weird name. What does it mean? Well, I'll break it down at least the way I think it is. Now, Moos, M-O-O-S, is the German word for moss. It also means fen, bog, or marsh. But in this case, the Moos is a meadow above the village of St. Anton, where Eugen's family has farmed for years. And Wirt, W-I-R-T, is the German word for host. So you put them together, as we do with German words, and Mooserwirt is the host of the nice marshy meadow that you ski through on your way down into the village of St. Anton. Now, the Mooserwirt does apres ski properly. And when I say that, I mean you won't find drinking games of the American or Austrian kind for that matter. You'll just find loud music, dancing, and lots of libations until it gets dark, and even afterwards. Eugen and I discussed the beginning of the Mooserwirt in the late 1980s, the music formula devised by his DJ of nearly 40 years, DJ Gerhard, and his recent pursuits, which include a luxury hotel and a fine dining restaurant. And we also talk about what he likes to drink. So, while this ski season will definitely look different, I'm hopeful that the days of responsible apres ski parties are going to come back. In my happy vision, the final countdown will call you to a table, we'll stand on our bench and sing the Ice Bear song, and we'll all ski down into the village under the moonlight like giggling, inebriated little ants. And with that, here's the interview. First, as a scene setter, just to kind of describe the atmosphere, because I think some of the people that are listening to this, they are not going to be familiar even necessarily what Austrian apres ski is about. So can you kind of quickly describe the Mooserwirt? What is the Mooserwirt? Where are we? What is this about?
Quick description. You got 10 hours. Can you quickly describe it? Well, we were mountain farmers, like a little bit up the mountains, like let's say 100 or 200 meters above St. Anton. And we just turned this mountain farming into a guest place, into a ski hut, and we do apres ski. Apres ski means people they come for lunch first, and in the afternoon they come for apres ski, which is just one big party, so to speak.
Just partying on the mountain.
Partying on the mountain, yes. Yeah.
So you had this idea, and this is something that Austria is really known for, and it's fine. As an American, we don't have necessarily the same culture. We have some little bit of apres ski, but we also have interesting proclivities and perceptions on things like taking the risk of having a drink and then skiing down the mountain
afterwards. You couldn't do it in the States.
No, it's really, really hard to do.
By the way, it was not my idea, Oh. Apres ski was not my idea. It has been before, Mm-hmm. Maybe we took it a step further, but apres ski was already there before we started with Mooserwirt,
Sure.
But they say that apres ski has been founded in St. Anton in the Post Hotel, and they called it 5 o'clock tea then. Like when there were a lot of English people here,
Right.
After skiing, they went back to the hotel. They really dressed up for the 5 o'clock tea. It was big live bands.
Yeah.
I can remember them as a kid.
So what year are we talking about when this
60s.
is kind of the 60s?
60s, yeah. I can remember as a kid because my father was working down there, and as a kid, these nicely dressed people dancing to live music, and they drank. They didn't party like they do now,
right?
But it was a thing called 5 o'clock tea, and this is but it was apres ski.
Right. Yeah, no, it's interesting. So this was years ago. I was skiing here, and I was meeting up with actually an American friend. Her father was coming. At the time, I think he was in his 70s. So we're talking early 2000s. He was in his 70s. And we were trying to figure out where to meet.
Yeah.
And actually, he recommended a place right up the hill from here, which is the Crazy Kangaroo. Sure. Because in the 60s, I think, or at least the early 70s,
it was the Crazy Kangaroo.
He knew that place.
In my opinion, the apres ski, the way it exists today, was founded by the Crazy Kangaroo, an Australian guy called Mr. Douglas. I haven't met him, but I know about him. He obviously bought that place up there, which was also a mountain farmer's place,
right?
And developed the something from the 5 o'clock tea into apres ski. Legendary parties, from what I've heard. I was too young then, and I knew obviously a Swedish guy called Gunnar Munte, who bought it off this Australian guy.
Uh-huh.
And then, we came along.
Yeah. So I'm curious to dig in a little bit about how that kind of came about and what decision was made, because it's interesting now. And just to explain, as you ski down the last run into the village above St. Anton, you pass several huts now.
Yes.
And they all have some form of entertainment. Some have outdoor stages and outdoor music. And really, one of the last ones before you come in is the Mooserwirt, which has a huge, what they call in Austria, a Schirmbar. It's an umbrella bar. A Regenschirm is the German word for umbrella. And then a large outdoor area where everyone gets like picnic tables, but there are fest tables where you're standing on benches and the beer is flowing. And then inside, it's this beautiful sort of like antique wood barn type thing with a huge open area in the middle. and you have the DJ up above, and starting at about 3:30,
2:30, yes.
the
yes,
party
yes.
begins,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then how late does the party usually go?
We close at 8.
At 8.
At 8, and most of the time we still have like 1,000 people here.
Yeah.
And so people don't really understand why we close with a full place, because we don't have to close. We could have,
Sure.
we could be open till, I think it's 3 in the morning or so. But we just checked it out. We tested it, and we found that at 8 people are very happy, in a very good mood. They're still joyful, cheering, and all that. And maybe half an hour or an hour later, this mood would change into something bad. They would they start to fight. Half an hour later, they have too much. And we don't want them to have too much.
So over time and experience, you realize the magic number was 8
exactly, because we don't want to kill people,
Sure.
we want them to be happy.
I was going to say, if you're open till 3, I think you're going to have to carry everyone off the mountain.
Wouldn't make any sense at all. And we want everyone to have a great time and to leave Mooserwirt with a great memory, and most important, to wake up the next morning with a great memory, and we want everyone to come back.
Right.
And they don't come back if you kill them.
But to be clear, at 8 o'clock, the sun is no longer shining.
No, it's dark.
It is dark.
It's dark.
It's dark. Yeah. So you can imagine that. It's fortunately, if you have a moon or a good night, the snow is pretty bright, but you have hundreds of little dark ants making their way down the hill, kind of giggling and laughing and continuing on with the evening. Right.
Exactly. It's when we started Mooserwirt, or in the first years when we grew bigger and bigger, we thought it would be a nice idea to and a nice service to rent taxis. So as a service to our guests, we had them all up here, 20 of them in one row, but no one would jump in. We would have paid for it, but no one would use the taxi. Apparently, being a guest at Mooserwirt, you need to ski down at the end of it. That's part of it.
It's part of it, right? It's part of the experience. I'll be honest with you. I've taken friends here. I've taken family here.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the goal, is say, hey, we can't leave yet. It's got to be dark when we leave, because you really can't do that in many places in the world, and especially for us as an American, it's just, it's kind
and
of,
you have to be able to ski down. It's, and you are allowed to, like you said, in the States, you could never make a place like that the same way we do it, because in the States, unfortunately, if someone breaks his shoulder or whatever on the way down, we would be responsible for that.
Sure. Yeah, not only you, but probably they would sue the lift operator and the mountain and the owner. And,
I mean, we had a case in not in St. Anton. It's a place called Surfhouse. Similar location. A lady broke her shoulder on the way down. She sued the hut, and he went to the high court.
Wow.
And eventually, the High Court said, no, it's your own responsibility. If you're drinking alcohol, don't ski down. It's your own fault,
For those listening who should be on juries or in courts, that's logic, and you should be applying that the next time you're in a personal injury case. You drank the beer, you skied, it's your fault.
Yes, exactly. And obviously, our whole industry was very glad about that, because otherwise we would have been in deep trouble. We would have to close down.
Yeah,
because you can't take the risk.
Of course.
And we know from Dr. Knirzinger, which is just down the hill, first doctor, because we were always asked this question by TV companies, and so everyone wants to know how many people get hurt skiing down. We know from one dislocated shoulder in 30 years.
One dislocated shoulder.
One dislocated shoulders.
Huh.
In 30 years.
I think that was almost my brother-in-law 2 weeks ago, but yeah.
That's according to Dr. Knirzinger.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
The local police would tell you the same. It's because it's dark. It helps. It doesn't help to ski down because it's dark, but it helps to prevent injuries, because no one is is skiing down fast. Everyone is just side slipping because they're.
It's a turtle race.
Yes,
people are going very slowly.
Yeah.
And sometimes walking too.
Sometimes walking too. Yeah,
if not being carried. Yeah. So take me back though. So the banner reads since I think 1989.
Yes.
How did that sort of decision get made and say, hey? Was your family farming? Were they?
Yes, we were mountain farmers.
Mountain farmers. Sheep, goats?
Sheep. Well, we had cattle and sheep and goats and whatever. Mm. And at the end, it's you simply can't make your living out of that. Mm. Being a mountain farmer in our area means the whole family has to work very hard, day and night, all year round. Plus all the relatives help them out. And that makes you just survive, but you can't really make a living out of it. And my father died in 87, and we were 4 kids and our mother. And I'm the eldest. I was actually in the States.
Okay.
I wanted to stay there.
Really?
In California.
Very nice. Where in California?
Ended up in Squaw.
Nice. Okay.
My area, we always went between San Jose and Squaw, back and forth. But I loved it. I loved it so much over there. I wanted to stay there because there are quite a few Austrians in American ski resorts, and most of them are very successful,
Sure.
And running ski schools and whatever. And I wanted to stay there, but I had to come back because my father was very ill by then, and so I had to come back, and then I knew for sure that we will not continue being mountain farmers because you can't survive. We actually were our financial situation was very, very bad. We always had to leave our place, And then what sounded like a great idea today and a big, concept. Was just, it was not a big idea and it was not a big concept. It was the only idea we had, because what else except mountain farming could you make on this place,
On the hillside here, yeah. And you've got, this is interesting to me because I think you come to Austria today, and even when I was skiing here, a decade or more ago,
yes,
every year, the development is so impressive,
yes.
and the attention to detail and the architecture, yes, and the design.
Yeah.
It's amazing today. And, I can remember as a kid skiing here, it was always very cute and very nice. But I think maybe in the 80s, the sustainability of farming, and then all of a sudden this explosion in tourism. And you see so many farming families now that are involved in tourism. And that seems to be
the ones,
the push.
When we were still farmers, a lot of the other farmers had hotels. So they didn't have to live from this farming, They were able to afford the farming, which is a big difference if you have to live off it or if it's your hobby,
right?
And for us, it was definitely not a hobby. It was to survive, and we couldn't anymore. And my brothers and my sisters and my mother, we were fed up with it, not with the work itself. It's great working with animals, great working in nature and stuff. Sounds very romantic and stuff, but if you're starving,
it's less romantic.
Yes, it's less romantic.
Yeah, sure.
And it was this place a little bit further up the hill, the Sennhütte, from a very dear friend, Karl Senn. And I also worked as a ski instructor for one winter and stuff. So I always loved that place. And that was, I thought, okay, I tried to make something like the Sennhütte, 200 meters further down.
Sure.
And this guy, Karl Senn, was still a very close friend of mine. Normally, if you copy someone's place 200 meters away, he would not be your friend anymore.
Sure, yeah. Competition now, right?
Yes. He would say, no, this guy is copying my place and stuff. And Karl Senn, he's a great guy. He helped me.
Yeah.
He showed me everything. He helped me, and he was even dealing with the suppliers we have. He had them all come to us and said, "This is Eugen. He's doing a place called Mooserwirt now. Don't cheat him." From the first day I got his prices.
Wow, that's a huge benefit.
Very, very, very big advantage. And they told people about Mooserwirt in Senate. So people were in the Senate first,
right?
And then when they left, they say, "Don't forget to pass by Mooserwirt." Amazing.
That's great.
That has been 30 years ago. I'm very grateful I had the chance to pay them back a few times,
right?
With other things, but we're very close friends. We're very close friends on the whole mountain, which is also quite unique in St. Anton. Normally in other places with so many huts, they're not friends. Most of the times they're real enemies, They're on court with each other and stuff. Not so in St. Anton. We're all great friends,
No, that's great. And it's interesting. It reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend who is a restaurateur, and he's opening restaurants, and another restaurant may open. And I say, "Well, hey, they're kind of copying what you're doing. Is that a problem?" He says, "No, not at all. Imitation can be the nicest form of flattery, right? If you're doing something right and someone copies that." But the saying that he told me, which I found was interesting, is a rising tide floats all boats.
Yeah.
So he wants you to succeed, right? Yes. Because if you're successful, then he's probably going to be successful too.
Other new successful places don't harm at all. They bring more guests, and if they're very good places, they bring higher class guests and stuff. So there can never be enough good places. It's bad when cheap places turn up,
Yeah, sure.
When places who are, filthy, doing whatever, happy hours all the time and all that stuff, that's bad.
Right.
But we don't have that situation in St. Like when Mario Matt, the former Olympic winner, when he bought Crazy Kangaroo of Gunnar, the moment I heard it, I called him, and obviously we've been knowing each other before that, and I said, "When are you coming?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You have no idea how to run a place like this. So when are you coming?" He said, "Now." I said, "Yeah." And he was here like half an hour later,
That's perfect.
And we showed him everything, and we told him everything, and he did everything we told him in the first years, it's a lot of logistics,
sure,
which you don't see, but which happen in the background,
Yeah. Well, speaking of, just a side note, just driving here today, it's a little bit like driving into a bond layer. You drive down the hill, and there's an elevator that you drive into that you push a button and it takes you to a floor, and there's an underground garage built into the mountain.
Yeah, it's 80 meters below the ski slopes.
It's unbelievable. The logistics of this place are actually fascinating. And I want to get a little bit more into that in a little bit. But I guess as we talk about sort of the change, this is a two-part question. If you could describe some of the changes from even the last 30 years to 10 years to 5 years, if there are any significant changes. And that's sort of the second part of that, I'd like you to talk a little bit about, sort of the reputational piece of it. If you want to avoid some of the lower budget things popping up, so you want to maintain a reputation for, luxury and nice things.
And being expensive.
But you're also a party, St. Anton has this reputation for party, which I want to get into.
Yeah.
But so for, major changes in the last several years.
There haven't been major changes. There have been hundreds or even thousands of minor changes. But we try to change things all the time. Every year we want to be a little bit better than last year in every little thing, and we never do big jumps and stuff, because you always, if you change too much, you might lose the guests, You always have to make sure that you get better and better and better, but you always have to make sure that people are able to follow you, you know.
Right. It helps to have a DJ who's been operating nonstop for years.
Yes.
Yeah. When did you meet him, and how did that come about?
We didn't have any live music in our first year. The first years we were bankrupt. You know, the first 3 years, 4 years, we were bankrupt. I mean, we increased our turnover by big margins every year, you know, doubled it in the first year and then again plus 50%, but we were still bankrupt.
Sure.
And without my very good friend Didi, who is my tax consultant, is that how you call them?
Sure, tax advisor. Yeah.
That tax advisor, we wouldn't have survived because our bank, they didn't trust me. They trusted him.
The accountant.
Yes, he told them, well, we will, you know, we will turn this place into something which can survive, you know. Just give us a few more time, you know.
Right.
So they trusted him. They didn't trust me. But eventually, we were quite successful in doing that. But one of the key points we found out was you have to do it with music and party. That there was no big apres key then, you know. It's apres key was sitting together in the afternoon,
right.
Having a glühwein, a beer and stuff, but far away from what's considered apres key now, you know.
Right.
And we found out that if you have live music or if you have loud music, you know, helps.
You can hear it when you're a couple hundred
you have to make some sort of a party.
Sure.
And Gerhard, we hired him as a live band once a week with his brother Josef. And when they had a break, like after every 30 minutes they had a little break, his brother would go to the bar and drown a beer, and Gerhard would stay on his place and play some CDs, you know, some songs. And he told me, you know, you can't leave these people alone, you know. I mean, if we have our break, you know, they're there. It's nothing is going on, you know. They wait until you can't do this to guests, you know.
Sure.
So he was really caring for the guests.
Right. Keeping them going.
Yes, keeping them going. And he didn't ask for extra money for that, you know, because normally if you have bands and you want them to play half an hour longer, they ask for money, you know.
Sure.
And stuff. So I thought, what a great guy. And I asked him, well, I'm not too much into live music, especially the music they played, which was more of a playback.
Okay.
Very, very playback sort of
cover
thing.
Tune type thing, or
yeah, but most of it came from the machine. Anyway,
oh, okay,
you know?
okay. Yeah,
so they sang to certain songs, but the playing was not the best. Sounded okay though, and I asked him if he. I talked him into being our DJ. And we learned together, you know. I mean, he had to learn it, we had to learn it. It was a learning process. It's still a learning process.
Right.
You know? But we could see that just having a party and having music would help. And then we lost most of our staff because the kind of music Gerhard played was not to their taste. They said, well, with such crap music, you know, we can't work anymore. We can't work, you know. It's so we lost all the staff, almost all the staff.
For the record, for those who may not be familiar, there's something that I find endearing and I love, because when I come back year after year, time after time, there are songs that are just, they're mainstays, and you always hear them, and they may be a little bit, you know, corny or whatever, but they just, people love to dance and sing to these songs, right?
Exactly.
So you have, every time I have friends coming to Germany and they're playing Country Roads,
yes,
or Sweet Caroline, yes, or something like that, and you know, you're always kind of impressed.
And really? You have your Status Quo song, and you have your AC/DC song, and you have your Europop song, you know, the German songs. Gerhard once told me that he has like 65 to about 65 songs every day.
Right.
The same 65 songs, every day. And the next season, maybe he has 5 new ones.
I was going to ask you, is there any formula or just
about 5 new ones?
Yeah.
And about 5 fall away, but 60 remain the same.
Wow.
And mostly it's music he wouldn't play at home, maybe, but when you hear them here, together with a lot of other people, you sing along and stuff, they fit perfectly here, they might not be the highest cultural opera songs, but they are fun and nice, and everybody loves them. And some of them we played since the first day,
Really? Which ones would you say?
Like AC/DC, Highway to Hell,
sure.
Or some Status Quo songs.
Right.
That's we've played them all the time, and it's the same since I don't know since how long, but since very, very, very long. Our opener is The Final Countdown.
Right.
And I have to admit, we hate it. We really hate it. In summer, when I'm driving my car somewhere and I hear The Final Countdown, I have to switch the channel immediately because it reminds me to it's winter, it's apres ski.
It's apres ski.
I don't want to think about winter. It's summer now and stuff. So and it's, if you hear this very same song for decades, you just don't like it.
It's Pavlovian. It's like
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we changed it.
Really?
Into a song from Samba Dacha, I think was the name of the song, by Safri Duo. A great opener.
Yep.
With
the
drums
beat.
and all that.
Yeah, sure.
And we changed it. It's a great opener, and we played it for exactly 1 day. Our guests did not like it at all. They came immediately and said, that's not Mooserwirt. Mooserwirt has to start with The Final Countdown. And even Gerhard, people hire him very often for as private DJs for their own parties in summer and for weddings and for whatever. And they always tell him, but we want the Mooserwirt party. We want you to start with The Final Countdown. We want to end the show after hours and hours and hours with Thank You for the Music by ABBA,
Of course.
And in between also the same. So one of the things why we are successful is that we don't try to play the latest music the latest music we try. We are, should I say, stubborn enough to stick to the same old.
But it works.
Right? It works.
Right? It works.
It works.
And the thing, you mentioned a word earlier in when you were saying, and you said everybody likes it. And it's something I've always noticed, particularly in any fest atmosphere, whether you're in the Oktoberfest or the Cannstatter-Vasen or you're here at Aprés ski. I'm always amazed. You have a mixture of people. Yes, you have a lot of young people and there's a young feeling, but you have people of all ages. And some of those songs, they still resonate. I mean, I have, family and, they remember these songs from maybe when they were here, 20, 30 years ago too.
And the young ones adopted.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I find so interesting is it's hard. There are certain occasions, I think, at home where I think you get everybody in one tent, so to speak, where you have young people to old people and they're all singing the same song, but it's really rare. Yeah. And here it's nice. It's almost like a cultural, sort of glue. Yeah. Everyone knows these songs and they all sing them.
Exactly. And it's not only a cultural glue between young and old. It's also between rich and poor. I mean, we don't have to, not rich and poor, but you know what I mean. It's
sure.
I mean, people from various levels,
Right.
They party to the same music,
Sure.
They sing along to the same music, and it's also one thing. I mean, I'm traveling the world very, very. It's my hobby, traveling around with my wife, and there's one thing concerning music. When you go to like. If you're in Asia, you're going to Cambodia, you're going to Vietnam, you're in Thailand, you're in Bali, in the Philippines, and wherever, in these places we stay, nice hotels and stuff, in the evening, you always hear the same music. You hear Café del Mar from Ibiza. You know, these lounge type of music, which has been developed in Ibiza, and they said big success selling their CDs. Every song sounds exactly like the one before and the one after. Great music. But if you're in Cambodia, if I hear a Café del Mar song, it doesn't remind me to Cambodia, or it doesn't remind me to Vietnam, it doesn't remind me to anywhere. But if you hear a song of that crap music we play Mooserwirt, if you hear the Final Countdown, or our legendary, the Ice Bear song, also rings a bell. And that's I think that's unique to, it's not unique to Mooserwirt, it's unique to the apres ski scene in Austria.
Right. Well, I was going to ask, because this is a legendary party place, and St. Anton has developed that and cultivated that reputation as being a place where if you want to go have fun, you can do it. There's great skiing, there's great food in restaurants now, but I think at one time, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I was reading articles about sort of this this difficulty of just being known as a party place.
Yes.
And then getting a lot of drunk people.
Yes.
And there was an effort to say, hey, we need to really make sure we keep quality high and focus. Exactly. Can you talk a little about that in that period?
At that time, and that's our effort every single day. Because what we are doing here with this party place, it's quite a small, how do you say, a small, rich,
a niche. Yeah.
Because from a great, happy party to a bad party where people are, are sick, from alcohol and all that. It's a very thin line where you go, and you have to be very strict. And we try to always be on the nice side of that line.
Of course. Yeah.
That means, or historically, we had the problem in St. Anton in the 70s and starting of the 80s. We had enormous groups from Scandinavia with kids 16, 17, 18 years old. I mean, in Scandinavia, alcohol is very, very expensive. They couldn't afford it. And they were brought here with bus loads, buses, hundreds of buses. They didn't stay in St. Anton. They stayed in very cheap places outside of St. Anton, sometimes 50 kilometers away. But they were brought in every day. They were brought in. The first load of alcohol they got on the bus. They wanted to make some money, the bus companies.
Right.
And then there was like 1,000 or 1,500 young kids, unloaded from these buses. They were in St. Anton. I mean, obviously, they had it was a bad situation. Very bad. We had big difficulties because you can't just, make whatever the police have them and stuff. It's too many,
Yeah, right.
We had to talk to these travel agencies and to the bus companies and stuff, But it was their money,
Yeah, of course.
But it gave us a very bad reputation, and still now people are remembering that time. And that means we know how difficult the whole thing is, and that's why we are working with it every day.
Yeah.
And we, in Mooserwirt, we're very strict with people, We want them to party, we want them to be happy and stuff. If someone starts to undress, we are there in the second, We don't want naked people in Mooserwirt.
Right.
We don't want naked women, Sometimes when we started, girls would jump up the table and started to undress. You can't do that because it gives it the wrong reputation.
Yeah,
and
won't stay along very long.
Yes,
yeah.
But girls don't undress nowadays. They don't undress nowadays. But guys sometimes do.
Sure.
And naked guys just don't look good. I mean, topless guys,
Yeah.
And what happens is, it's always 3 or 4 guys. They're having a good time. They undress, they get topless, But the next thing what happens is, one runs a beer over the other,
Yeah.
And then there's
a precipitous decline. It falls off pretty fast.
Yes,
and
then the next, and we also so we are there in the men that say, come on, guys,
Yeah.
Or one thing we don't allow is, I mean, champagne is a very popular drink, and we don't allow to how do you say,
To spray it.
to spray it, first like with the sword,
Okay.
to kill it, and then to spray it around, because it's only funny for the guys who spray. It's not funny for the people around, which have wet ski suits and stuff.
Yeah, it's a little sticky too.
Sticky and stuff. We just don't like it.
By the way, this does exist at other places. I can recall La Folie Douce party.
Yeah.
They're actually known for the champagne shower.
I know.
They spray a lot of it. But yeah, you don't see the champagne necessarily getting sprayed.
It's different. It's different ways of Folie Douce is a very good place. Actually, the owners come tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they come. We know them, and they have dinner with us tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think. Yeah.
Right.
It's 2 different concepts,
It's interesting.
But we don't let people spray in Mooserwirt,
Right. So I remember the article that I was reading. I think it was from 2012. I think it was a Financial Times article, and it was mentioning that this effort to build more 4- and 5-star hotels.
Yes.
And that would also help keep, the occupancy, of a certain clientele, of a certain level, and things like this. Yes. When I started skiing here, your hotel didn't exist, and now, give me a little bit of history with that. When you built it, some of the thought that went into it. It is absolutely beautiful. The architecture is amazing. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a great place.
We like it ourselves, I have to say. It's very small. I mean, I have to admit, we still make our living from Mooserwirt, from the party place. Yeah. But it's we wanted. Why did we build it? Because the place was there, and we always the last 30 years, I think 28 years, we have been building something. Right. So this is a very common thing we do all the time, building. And then we could have built a hotel with like 60 or 70 beds in I don't know, 3.5 or 4-star. Would have been quite easy to fill, because if we had told most of the clients we have our own hotel now, we would have been booked out all winter. Yeah. But we didn't want to have that. We didn't want to extend the party. The party is until 8, and from 8 it's something different. So long story, but eventually we said, okay, let's do the exact opposite. Let's make a 5-star superior hotel. Yeah. With only 17 rooms. And a lot of experts told us that will never work. Having a party place like Mooserwirt and a 5-star superior hotel next to it is simply not possible,
Right.
And
maintain your theme or maintain your experience, and rather than the yin and the yang, two opposites.
Yeah. But whenever experts tell us that something doesn't work, we have to do it.
It's probably a good idea.
Yes. and so we built that 5-star superior hotel. I mean, we only communicate for 4-star superior, but we could just change that, because we have all the qualifications for higher. But we don't want, we don't give too much about these stars. We rather be a 4-star superior hotel and surprise our guests with a 5-star superior service and quality and all that, rather than have just for our own sake or whatever, have these 5 stars,
some sort of
But sorry, with the hotel, one funny thing was, I would have bet everything, that like in the first year, 75 or at least 80% of our guests in the hotel would be Mooserwirt guests. Right. I would have bet everything. It wasn't 5%.
Really?
5% knew Mooserwirt, have heard about Mooserwirt. 95% of the people who came to the hotel have never been to St. Anton before, have never heard about Mooserwirt, nothing. And they were very surprised why we didn't advertise it.
Sure.
In the hotel, it's two different homepages. Yeah. Why we didn't advertise the Mooserwirt on the hotel page. They said, it's such a fantastic party place. Why don't you advertise it? We still don't.
Right.
But that was very funny. People actually came for the hotel, not for the party. Obviously, they really enjoyed
the party helps.
The party helps, but they didn't come for that.
Maybe the party guests, they still want to ski down. Yeah.
yeah. They still want to. I mean, we have a lot of inquiries, obviously, from party guests as well. Party guests are like flying in from London for a weekend, you know, like the investment bankers and all these, you know, they all want to stay in the hotel, but we're always booked out.
Yeah, right. It's open in the summer as well, or do you
just winter?
Just the winter. Yeah.
We're always building something in summer, so we can't open.
That's incredible.
Sorry, I interrupted you. The restaurant, you said.
Oh yeah, the restaurant. So the podcast is Eat, Drink, Fun, right? So all three of those things get touched on here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love food. I think your restaurant is clearly a representation that you like food and also wine.
Yes.
And I'm a big fan of wine as well. Yeah. So what was that project and what was your vision for that?
Well, in the hotel, we offer our rooms only with breakfast, not with half board and stuff, with breakfast. But we knew we had to make an a la carte restaurant in our hotel for our hotel guests. We can't just send them away every night for dinner. So we knew we had to build a restaurant, and it took us a few years to find out what our hotel guests wanted. We had our chefs then, they wanted to cook high-class food, but...
Like a fine dining restaurant.
It is a fine dining restaurant. Mm-hmm. It always was, but the things we cook in there have changed. You know, in our first years, it was the Café del Mar thing. We on our menu, you found things you found all over the world. You know, you found just it's just things. What's the thin sliced
like a carpaccio
and all that. I mean, things people just eat everywhere. And for example, I think the first we didn't have a Wienerschnitzel because
come all the way to Austria and you don't get a Wienerschnitzel.
Yeah, tell that to fine dining chefs. They it's a hate laugh. You know what I mean? Right. It used to be hate laugh. Now they love it because they've realized, hey, what a great dish Austria has. You know, the whole world knows a Wienerschnitzel, and when someone comes to Austria, he wants to have a Wienerschnitzel on the first day because he's longing for that. You know,
of course.
And that's a great gift we have. You know, and now our challenge is to make one of the best Wienerschnitzels in Austria. So, but it was quite a way.
Sure.
To get there.
It's the thing is, I think sometimes, again, putting my American hat on, you don't really, you think of great food, Austria, even Germany, not really on the list, and you associate it maybe with certain things. In Germany, sausages, Wurst, it's great. Austria, you have Schnitzel, but there's so many interesting things, especially game.
Yeah.
If you like deer or venison, I mean, this is the place to eat that. Yes. And hunting in Austria is a big deal.
And that's how our menu looks now.
Terrific. So I have to ask, I don't know. There's something I had in this part of the world several years ago, which may sound unappetizing if I describe it. It's a borscht. You know,
love it.
it's
Love
heart,
it. Yes,
lung,
yes,
chopped
yes,
up,
yes.
maybe some pickles, some mushroom.
Exactly, yeah.
It's
We don't have that on the menu. We changed the menu 4 or 5 times in winter.
yeah.
Sometimes spatial is on, sometimes spatial is off. At this time, we have bries.
What is bries?
No idea what this is in English.
Auf Deutsch?
Bries, B-R-I-E-S. It is an organ
Also,
in young animals, you know.
Okay.
In young Kälber. What's a kalb?
Calf.
In young calves,
A small cow.
A small calf. It's an organ, and then when they age, that organ disappears.
Really? Okay.
They don't have it anymore, you know.
Hold on a second.
And that's on the menu at the moment.
Sweetbreads. Sweetbreads.
that-
At least it's translated sweetbreads. Bries.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's part of the lower part of the
Yes,
esophagus
yes,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
animal. Oh, that's delicious.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So things we were not brave enough in the beginning to put on the menu because we thought like Beuschel and stuff. You
Sure.
know, we didn't.
Who's writing that description in an appealing way? That's what I want to know. You know, it's a little difficult, but sometimes it doesn't even look that great. But the flavor is amazing.
Our changing days in the hotel is Thursday and Sunday.
Okay.
And sometimes our chefs would say, today is Schnitzel Thursday, because the new guests, you know,
Then you guess one.
3/4 of them wanted to have their Wienerschnitzel.
Interesting.
And they, my chefs didn't like it because we are so fantastic cooks, you know, we can do so many things and people are eating Wienerschnitzel. It took a while for them to realize that it's just a great gift, you know, to have a dish like that, you know.
Sure.
And they come back if the Wienerschnitzel is good, because this is also a la carte restaurant, not only for hotel guests, also from outside.
Okay.
People come back and eat the rest. And same with the Kaiserschmarrn, which is a dessert, you know.
Yeah. So explain what Kaiserschmarrn is.
Kaiserschmarrn is eggs.
Well, it's like a huge pancake, an egg-based pancake.
Egg-based and you have to. It's tricky to do. It sounds very easy, but it's tricky. A good Kaiserschmarrn is a good Kaiserschmarrn, you know. But they also they can do so fantastic desserts, you know, build little buildings and all that stuff, and people eat Kaiserschmarrn because it's Austrian, you know.
Of course, yeah. But it's not.
But that's history, and by now we found our way.
So tell me about the wine. So would you describe yourself as a wine person, a connoisseur, or
I'm a wine lover.
A wine lover.
I'm far away from a connoisseur. You know, I really love wine. I think I can take a good from a bad wine, you know, to a certain extent. But like I said, I know some very, very, very experienced wine drinkers like Adi Werner from the Hospice Hotel in St. Christoph. He's a legend in Austria as a hotelier, and he's up in St. Christoph, and he has a big Bordeaux cellar, and he got, I think it was 5 or 6 or 7 years, he got the 5-star Diamond Award for the best wine cellar in the world.
Really?
Yes. So that's up in St. Christoph, and he's a very good friend of mine, and I had the privilege to be with him quite often when they did some wine tastings and stuff, and a lot of times it was blind tastings, and a lot of times it was the big names from France.
I noticed. Don't you have a Chateau Petrus on your menu? Yeah.
We have all most of our own wine list is also is very. We have all the big names, almost all the big names.
Mm-hmm.
since 1993 or so.
Wow.
We have them here, but it's nothing compared to the wine cellar in the hospital hotel. Believe me.
Hospice, yeah.
For example, Cheval Blanc, one of the major and most known wines in Bordeaux, they produce 6 18-liter bottles Cheval Blanc every year. Only 6. And all 6 of them go exclusively to Adevana from the hospital. You don't find an 18-liter bottle of champagne anywhere in the world. Only in the hospital.
That's incredible.
That's why that's really exclusive.
Wow.
It's because the Cheval Blanc apparently went through some darker times as well, some centuries ago, and Adi Werner always stuck to them. He always supported them.
Mm-hmm.
And
sounds like I need to possibly schedule some time with Werner.
I can arrange that for you.
That would be.
He is a fantastic person, and you don't have to ask him one question. He will talk to you for 5 hours without even breathing. Great guy.
That sounds amazing. Do they go through 6 bottles a year, or he's saving obviously some of those?
He doesn't have them all in St. Christoph. He has one storage in Liechtenstein, one in Vorarlberg, one up there. Up there, the big bottles he has in the hospital. Do you know the hospital?
I probably skied
when
past
you ski
it
down
sometime.
the hospital. All the big bottles they have in the hospital. Very, very great to look.
Yeah.
But I mean, we do have a very
great cellar, yeah.
Great cellar, but nothing compared to.
Yeah. Well, when you're having a glass of wine, what is your preferred wine? What do you reach for?
White wines. I really have to say I love Austrian white wines.
They're beautiful, yeah.
Because they're fresh. I like when you smell, they're fruity, they're fresh, they're
good acidity.
Yes.
Great if it's in the summer, if it's warm, to have a Grüne Veltliner is
yes.
Absolutely perfect.
It's a bit, people are asking for old and aged white wines. Now, I think it's a bit of I don't really believe in that, to me, we do have them here. Mm-hmm. We organized them. We didn't have them, but we organized them because quite a few people were asking for them. To me, I probably would throw them away. if I taste them, I say, that's come on, it's long over. But there are people who really say, oh,
they really
not my kind of like the white wines. I want fresh.
Yeah. And well, also usually if a wine is like that, right, it tends to be good with the cured meat or
yes,
the cheese.
Yes,
I mean, it's a nice pairing to have a fresh, crisp wine to deal with the fat in a sausage or something like that. Yeah, no, it's. And what about red wine though? If you're having a
red wine, again, Austrian red wine is developing. We already have some very, very good red wines, which in blind tasting become great even Parker points.
Mm-hmm. If you believe in points, yeah.
If you believe in points.
Yeah.
But it's at least it's somehow to officially compare them.
Sure.
But and I like the Austrian red wines, but I have to admit, and I also like the French wines, the Bordeaux wines and stuff. Mm-hmm. I like Bordeaux wines when I drink them like with Adi Werner or one of these real connoisseurs,
Sure.
When they describe them and when they tell a little bit about them, then I love French wines,
the history Bordeaux. And
yes,
yeah.
Personally, when I go for dinner with my wife and stuff, I'm sort of into Italian wines.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The Tuscans
sure.
and all that. It's like Sassicaia and Guidalberto and Dignanello and all this. They're Ornellaia.
Yeah.
It's I like them.
Yeah.
But like American wines, for some reason when I go abroad with my wife Anna Maria, obviously you don't find too many Austrian wines, in international.
It can be difficult. It's getting better, but I really love Austrian wine.
Yeah.
I think it's great, and
but we don't have the quantity.
Yeah.
But when we go abroad, and when we go abroad, we don't want to drink French or Italian wines anyway, because we have them here. So that's where we check. For some reason, when we are on holidays, always the wine I drink on the first or the second day is Zinfandel from California. Don't ask me why. I like the grape, I like for some reason I like that,
They do it very well.
But it's always the cheapest wine on the whole list, for some reason, But I like it.
Interesting, yeah. No, and any particular Zinfandel, old vine Zinfandel, or just
the Zinfandel?
Yeah,
bring me the Zinfandel
in California. Fantastic. I'm going to bring us back just for a second because I want to understand this. I was here a couple weeks ago. It was amazing, and we were watching some of the party outside. We were sitting up in the bar with the big glass window, kind of overlooking the party outside. And we saw, I'm always amazed when I see your servers. They're holding a tray of about 25 beers and
50.
50.
Or 50. Sometimes they go with double layers.
Unbelievable. And shots as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they stay balanced. And then some people are trying to pick off a beer here and there.
That's a pain.
That is a pain. And we actually saw one guy mess up one of your servers, and he had dumped the whole tray, which was a catastrophe. But I'm sure that probably, if it doesn't happen daily, it probably happens every other day. I don't know.
No. A waiter dumping a whole tray happens 2 or 3 times in the season.
Really?
Yes.
So that was a pretty unique experience.
And the waiter, he is the idiot of the year, internally. Really, everyone is laughing at him. And he's the idiot of the year until the next one dumps.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it doesn't really, unbelievably, but it does not happen that much.
It doesn't happen that often. Okay. Well, I'm wondering because these guys are strong.
Yes.
How do you have a training? I mean, first of all, how are you recruiting those guys, and what do you have to teach them?
We have a lot of applications because you can earn a lot of money in Mooserwirt, but it's also a very, very, very hard job, mentally and physically, and we only need maybe one new waiter every year.
Wow!
And so the rest remain the same.
It's got to be competitive.
As long as they can do it, they stay here. So that means it's training and it's experience. Apparently, I wouldn't be able to carry these trays. Apparently, the hard thing is to lift them up. Apparently, when you have them up there, sort of it's quite stable up there. Mm-hmm. The only bad thing, which is a little bit since last year, we find that especially on weekends, there's people coming who steal. Sometimes they don't steal; they just want to make a joke,
Yeah.
And they take one glass off, and that ruins the whole balance.
Yeah.
And the waiters really have trouble with that,
Yeah, sure.
because it's balanced, and when they put it up, obviously you take a beer off 1 out of 50. They don't.
We saw them take 2 off.
Yeah.
That's
two is 1 is okay.
Yeah.
But 2 is already,
Yeah.
And stuff. So we really hate that.
Yeah.
But they train with water.
Really?
Yeah, they train with water. Plus they go into the gym.
Really?
Yeah. You want to be strong.
You have to be fit. Yeah. No, they're impressive. All the way stuff.
But like I said, apparently is the trick is to to lift it up.
Yeah.
But it's heavy. 50 kilos.
Holy crap. It's 110 pounds.
Yeah.
110 pounds. Wow. Okay. No, you have to go to the gym for that. Are there any particularly incredible parties that you can recall here? Without, of course, and I actually really respect this and I like this, without naming, any famous people who do come here and everything, but as far as any particular events from memory, going back as long as you can remember that, are unique or anything like that?
No, it's not really. It's because it's the same every day.
Yeah.
And every year. And it's sometimes people are I get mails and people write, I'm coming on February 10th. Do you have any special occasion around February 10th? And we write them back, no, it's very boring. It's apres on February 1st, 2nd, 3rd, until and it always starts at 3 and it always ends at 8. And it's the truth. Wow. It is always the same, because what people mean is if we have live acts.
Right. Or some sort of special event like, they do
never have
in other places, an electric mountain or something like this.
No, we don't have that because people hate it. Our guests hate it. We do TV shows every year. Mm-hmm. In the beginning of December, we have with German RTL, mm-hmm. It's a 4-hour TV show. We have 20 to 25 live acts here, and it's always it's a 4-hour TV show with live act. But that's the only time we have live acts here, and we know all these guys,
Right.
And they would love to perform here, and we tried that out, and our guests hate it. They want the final countdown in the beginning. They want Gerhard, DJ Gerhard, and now his son Thomas, will be his successor, right. To do that, build it up and down and stuff, and they don't want anything to disturb that script or whatever.
Right.
Sometimes, or we have made the fault that there have been ski races, private ski races, and they asked us if they could make a quick, announcement who was the winner and stuff. People started to whistle and stuff. They don't want to disturb it. They don't want live acts to disturb the whole thing. Bachelor parties, stag nights, mm-hmm. Sometimes want to do, make him sing, a funny song, and that people hate it, and we don't allow it. And it has to be that thing from beginning to the end,
Yeah.
So
that's part of the brand. That's part of your mark. That's why people come here. Yeah.
And people know exactly what to expect. So maybe that's part of the success. It's boring. It's boring. That's why we don't.
By the way, it's not boring. I was going to ask about Nägeln, but
what?
Nägeln.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Is that you mean the?
Yeah. So this is another, going back to our earlier conversation about things that you could never do in the United States. You'd never give people drinking large amounts of beer a box full of nails, a hammer, and a stump.
We never do.
And you don't.
No, but how come? That's so funny. The TV shows, we do. They change the directors every 5-6 years,
Mm-hmm.
And every new director comes and said, well, in between, the life acts, we do the Nageln and we do the cow milking. And I said, no. Well, that's Aprés. He said, no. I have no idea where this comes from.
Really?
No idea. I know, I've seen people on TV doing that bloody nailing, and the hammer has to be crooked,
Yeah.
But we never do it. And I don't know anyone who does it. Do they do it in Saalbach?
Sure. Yeah. Here
in Aprés, like the Hinterhag, they wouldn't nail.
Not in the Hinterhag.
No. Maybe small cozy huts.
Yeah. Exactly. That's where you find it. Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
Or even some, in
the Schirmbar.
Or milking the cows from plastic areas,
I've never seen this.
Yeah, that's the same, plastic others, and
Really?
yeah, it's you are there and I'm there, and we both, and always fills up the glass like that.
Okay, I need to find that. You need to tell me where to find that because I've never seen that. But that sounds.
I've seen it on TV.
Hilarious on TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they said that's Aprés. I said no, it's not Aprés.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, I last couple questions here. You mentioned, and we were talking earlier before we started the interview. You love to travel, and actually, we both spent some time in Asia. You seems to have spent even more time in Asia than I have, even though I was living there as a kid. Your favorite places to travel when you're not here, and this is not necessarily year round. Although, is something open in the summer or not?
Oh yes, St. Anton is open.
St. Anton, but as far as the Mooserwirt goes, it's pretty much
no. Mooserwirt is closed,
shut down.
Yeah.
So you're gone somewhere else.
We're rebuilding it.
Yeah, making repairs and building something new.
Yeah.
So when you have the opportunity to go somewhere, where are your favorite places to go?
I mean, I'm going all the time.
Yeah.
Like last year I was on the planes 36 times.
Wow.
And it was never, there was not one business trip. It was all private trips, some alone, but most with them with my wife. It's just our life. Traveling is our life, and our absolutely favorite places are islands, small islands anywhere, like the Maldives, the Seychelles, and stuff. But you find small islands everywhere,
Yeah.
And the second, favorite thing is beaches. Nice hotels, nice resorts on beaches,
Yeah.
And obviously Asia, beautiful Asia.
Fantastic.
We always try to combine leisure and like last year we went to India. We made a 7-day round trip through India, which we enjoyed absolutely. And then after that we go to a beach,
Right.
We went to Vietnam after India. I think that I love the Filipinos most.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why they are so. I can't describe that. I just love them,
Warm, friendly,
great, fantastic musicians.
Yes.
I mean, you find
live music in the Philippines is amazing.
All over the world,
Yeah,
you find Filipinos playing music.
That's true. Now, I know you're mostly, if you're going to have something to drink while you're gone, wine is usually preferred. Maybe at a different point in your life, if there was a go-to cocktail or drink.
I was never a cocktail guy, I have to say. I was a beer guy. I still am. I'm in beer and wine. Beer, Tegernseher, I told you, Tegernseher is my beer.
Yeah, for
but
reference.
Is not my... I like to... I mean, gin is a big thing the last 2-3 years, and I like to taste different gins with different tonic waters and stuff, but it's gin and tonic is not a cocktail for me. It's
a long drink, a mixed drink.
Yes.
But yeah, now living in Stuttgart, they actually are very proud. They won an award recently as the best mixing gin for a gin and tonic.
Really?
Ginster. Yeah.
Ginster, I know Ginster.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, from the Germans make the best gins in the world. Monkey 47, and they have a few others they make. Gin-wise, they are really, really top of the world, I have to say.
They're very competitive right now.
Yeah.
It's popular. At this point in the interview, I wanted to know a little bit about the future of the business and whether his kids were part of that picture. Is there promise for Alexander to be taking over?
We have 3 kids.
Okay.
2 daughters. Alexandra is the eldest, and Ann-Kathrin, she's 2 years younger, and Sophia, another 2 years younger. I mean, we never built this place to give it. We never built this place for our kids. Mm-hmm. We built this place for ourselves to get out. My wife Anna Maria and I, we both come from very poor,
modest background. Yeah,
very modest background, and it was our chance and our opportunity to well, to make our living. And so we made it for ourselves. And we never wanted to put pressure on our kids.
Sure.
Look what we've done in our life. That's all for you, because that wouldn't be true. But obviously, you know, we're happy when one or two or all three of them like it as much, you know, like it enough to make their living out of it. It would be great.
Yeah.
And the way it looks, it looks good. That's good.
You know, the one thing is, I would always love to have this kind of atmosphere somewhere in the U.S., you know, and we discussed earlier, there's a lot of challenges to doing that, you know, probably legally and all those things. But,
yes.
You know, have you ever been approached by anyone to say,
especially from Americans, you know?
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's always the same. You could make an apres key place, you know, but only down in the valley, never up in the mountain like here, you know. Mm-hmm. Only down there where there is no skiing involved anymore and stuff, you know. But I mean, obviously there is enough resorts where the apres ski happens in the town itself, like in Saalbach. Saalbach is down, some are up. Yeah. Ischgl is mainly is mainly in the resort. Sölden is mainly in the resort, but in St. Anton, all our apres ski happens on the mountain, which makes it sort of special. But I don't think you could make that in the States. No, you can't. You can't.
The night run is probably the biggest thing. Plus, I don't know about building. You know, something like it would have to, it'd be a big hurdle. But so people have come to you in the past and said, will you be an advisor or be a part
franchising, selling it, being a partner, being paid for it and stuff. Yeah.
I figured. I mean, in some way that almost I feel reassured because, you know, I've always thought there has to be a reason why this doesn't exist in the States. Clearly, people have talked to you and they've tried to look at the problem and see it. But I think the sad thing would be if they tried to emulate it and then they failed and it didn't live up to it. It's clearly not good for you, but also it wouldn't be.
We've been approached not only by Americans, other nations as well to sort of franchise Mooserwirt, and we thought about it.
Because that model exists, right? I mentioned earlier, La Folie Douce.
They franchise, you know. We've thought very often about it, but at a certain stage we decided no. We want to keep it unique.
Yeah.
We want to keep it unique. We want to keep it here in St. Anton. We want to keep it unique because, I mean, you franchise it, you sort of lose control, you know.
Of course.
And if there is a Mooserwirt somewhere else, not to our standards, you know, maybe one who let the people undress, for example, you know. It always falls back to you. Yeah. It's Mooserwirt, you know. So we are maybe we lost a lot of money not doing it, but we're happy.
I feel like I have to get more of my countrymen over here to really understand.
Thank you very much. And I'm
Austrian efforts.
And they're most welcome. I show them around everywhere. I'm going to show you around now.
Okay.
Yeah? And I'm going to show you around to things you have never seen.
Really?
If you're interested.
Of course I'm interested. Yeah. It would be an honor. Yeah. It'd be a pleasure. That's great. Well, hey, Eugen, thank you so much for taking the time again. I really appreciate it. And I wish you, of course, many more years of success. And I look forward to coming back.
Traveling.
And traveling. Always traveling.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This was awesome.
While the interview ended there, my visit did not. Eugen and I spent another 90 minutes touring several floors of his operation, from the keg room to the wine cellar to the carpentry shop to the kitchen. High tech is an understatement. There are over 30 kilometers of hoses delivering beer, soft drinks, and alcohol to bartenders at multiple bars on multiple floors, both inside and outside the building. There's a carpentry shop that makes those serving trays that are strong enough to deliver 25 liters of beer and 40 shots in a single pass. 2 staff are positioned in the basement room where they constantly change taps and deliver pallets of Red Bull and Jägermeister. Now, Eugen admits that he can give interviews only because his wife, Anna Maria, manages about 10 other jobs on a daily basis, and she's also a very shrewd businesswoman. Several years ago, 2 cocktails were blowing up, the Aperol Spritz and the Hugo. Both cocktails were served in large wine glasses, and at the time, the bar was paying nearly €6 for a single wine glass, and breakage, as always, was a total problem. So, when Anna Maria was online at IKEA, she noticed at the checkout a box of 6 glasses for €6. And she spoke to the person at the register right there and ordered up a pallet of 10,000 glasses. Another interesting story involved their strategy to lessen the burden of cleanup. At the end of an average day, there'd be several inches of broken glass on the outside patio. Eugen's solution was pretty simple. Put the Mooserwirt logo on the glasses. And almost immediately, the broken glass problem solved itself. Sure, he lost more glasses to theft or accidental removal, but that's just part of the advertising budget now. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please check out the links I put in the show notes at eatdrinkfun.com/podcast. And if you have time, I truly appreciate your review wherever you guys get your podcasts. If you have suggestions for future episodes, please find me on Instagram or Twitter at eatdrinkfun. You can also email me at info@eatdrinkfun.com. Thank you again to Eugen Scalet and the Mooserwirt team. The intro music is Pluck It Up by Dan Hennig. The outro tune is Write You by Joey Pecoraro. Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands, mask up, and let's get traveling again. Until next time, here's to eating well, drinking better, and always having fun.